Well, this is Steve Ridgel, and I guess now they're going to make daylight savings time permanent. And I've listened to people argue all sides of that. I mean, my wife and I, we walk early in the morning, so we'd rather it be light early. I think, if you, depending on which way you do it, we might never walk in the daylight again because we walk early. If I still own one of the handful of drive-ins that are still functioning in the United States, I'd want it to get dark really early because that would help my business. For people that have to work after they work a full 8-hour day and then have to go mow a yard or have a part-time job outside or go out and do some work on their land or whatever it is, well, they'd like it to be light later. If you want your kids to play outside, you want it to be light later. If you don't want your kids running around at night, then maybe you want it to get dark earlier. A lot of that just depends on if you're old, you don't want to get out at night when it's dark. There's just all sorts of things to factor in. But here's the deal. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way to decide that. I mean, it's not like God said, here's the way it is, don't mess with it. Here's how your clocks work. God didn't do any of that. I mean, he made daylight and day and night, but I don't know that he's bound by clocks like we are. So I don't know that it really matters. I think you can make good arguments either way, and frankly, or whatever they decide, we're going to go on living life, and it's probably not going to make a huge difference to us. But I was kind of thinking when I listen to everybody argue and they get so passionate about it, like just there's some kind of thing that's really true. You know what? Some things in the Bible are a little bit like daylight savings time. I'm not sure it really matters. You can look at something, and if it's not real clear, and everything in Scripture is not clear, and so you take this principle and this verse and put these together and say, here's a reasonable thing we can decide. But it may be right or it may be wrong or it may not really matter in the long run. It's simply a matter of what do we think is the best thing for us. And so I'm okay with those kind of things. But I would give this caution. Unlike daylight savings time, there are some things in Scripture that are clear. And I want to be real careful with those. So here's my advice for daylight savings time. Whatever they make it, show up. Whether it's light or dark or whatever, just live your life and figure it out. For Scripture, if it's not clear, don't bind it on anybody. Don't let your opinion or your considered learning and what you think's the best way to do based on Scripture, don't bind that if God didn't. And the things God did say clearly, don't try to take those away by saying, well, times are different and truth changes and maybe it's right then and not right now. Don't do that. If God's clear, stick to it. If he's not clear, don't bind it. And as for daylight savings time, well, as a preacher, I'm just going to tell you, when church starts, be there. This is Steve Ridgel saying, whatever it will be, daylight savings time is okay. Because that's not near as important as what God says.